What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be going over a question that's been on some people's minds for a while now, ever since the leak of the supposed Resident Evil Outrage and it potentially being a Revelations 3. I have seen a few comments in other people's videos as well as my own, kind of questioning if raid mode would return if Outrage did end up being a Revelations 3, and if it did, would it be the same? Would it be improved? Would it kind of be evolved? And today we're going to go over some ideas that could feature in a third installation of a raid mode. I personally quite enjoy the raid mode in the second Revelations game quite a lot. At the time of recording this, I've basically done all of it, apart from the last couple gauntlets on the hardest difficulty. And I gotta say, it was a lot of fun, and I managed to play it with a friend of mine who had downloaded the game for free to play like the first 4 kind of stages of it with me, and we had a blast. Check his channel out down below because he uploads far more different things than me, so maybe there's something in there that ticks a box for you. But today we're going to go over a potential raid mode part 3, we'll call it, what it could be improved upon, what it could add as kind of like a breath of fresh air to the mode, and you know, just some general thoughts in general. I said general twice there, yes, I did. But anyway, without further ado, leave a like on the video if you are interested in a raid mode in a Resident Evil Outrage, and if you aren't subscribed already for Resident Evil content, be sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss a single video. First off, let's get into raid mode from Revelations 2 and what I liked about it so much. And straight out the gate, I like the fact that it is a action-orientated mode. This is obviously a balls to the wall, kill every enemy you see with God knows how many bullets until you complete it. Like, that was what made it fun for me. Like, it was a nice change of pace. Obviously, as of late, I've been playing a lot of Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, which is an action game for the most part, but it's still a bit slow compared to this. But this is just a whole different breath of fresh air, and on top of that, I managed to play it with a friend, which is a rare occurrence since Resident Evil 5 and 6. I believe if they were to introduce a raid mode into Resident Evil Outrage, that you would either keep the 2-player option or at least evolve it into maybe even 3 or 4, because at the end of the day we're on next gen now and it has the potential to support that many players, and in doing so moves on to my next point, which is more players, more enemies, harder difficulty. Something that I love about the Resident Evil series as a whole, whether it's a bonus mode or not, is the extra difficulties they provide you with. You know, look at Professional, look at Madhouse, look at Village of Shadows, which is honestly not too hard, but you know what I mean, like they're all these ultra hard difficulties. Ethan Must Die, extra mode, ridiculously difficult, already made a video on it, and it is coming this week, so I thought I'd throw that in there. It is a thing I really enjoy in the Resident Evil series, and I know it's not for everyone, it's not everyone's taste to be doing something that's gonna rip your face off every time you walk around the corner, but for me, it adds such a depth of playability to the game, because you are gonna get fucked, basically, and it takes time, it takes focus, it takes commitment to get good at this type of thing, especially in Resident Evil. Yes, you can kind of, with a Resident Evil game, obviously, you know, they only last like a few hours if you know what you're doing, but with the extra difficulty, it makes one zombie in one particular room, or one, you know, lichen that just happens to be in a certain annoying part of the map, a pain in the arse to deal with, because it will kill you, or it'll take all your bullets away, because it will just be a sponge, you know, and you have to revise your strategies and think about what you're going to do. So I do believe that adding more players and more difficulty options to a raid mode would make for a more tactical approach. You know, you'd have to have comms with your team to kind of deal with the certain buffs and debuffs that the monsters provide and take away. And that moves me on to my next point about like a team composition. Think of the players, not the players, so think of the characters that are playable already. Let's go again off Revelations 2, for example. You have Hunk, you have Jill, Chris, Barry, Wesker, Moira, all these different characters from the game and from the series. And they all, yes, they do all have their own kind of unique perks they spawn with, like Hunk has a tactical cloak, and, you know, someone else has something else. I didn't really play any other character in the game, so I couldn't tell you, but they all have something with them. Now, imagine if you know, again with a 4 people kind of setup, you could essentially assign a character because of the role they provide. Like, let me explain. Let's go for a Chris, you know, and let's use RE Village Chris, okay? He's a no bullshit, gonna mess up whoever caused the issue kind of guy in that game, you know? He doesn't mess around, his team are elite, they know what they're doing. He could be a DPS. Let's just say he has perks with him that grant him more damage than others. Then let's move the role over to the apparent main character of the new game, you know, Rebecca Chambers. If you remember her uniform from Resident Evil 0 and the first game, she has like the medic strap on her arm. There's your healing class that has some kind of healing for your team. Let's move on to, you know, Honk example right there. A tactical class, you know, someone that brings in certain skills that either buff or debuff your team, buff your team or debuff the enemies in certain situations. Let's go for, I don't know, let's say Barry, you know. He could be a support class, you know, he could be there to kind of give your team some kind of like buff to do with morale, like a temporary buff if you're near him that increases your kind of resilience and stuff like that, you know. You don't know, they could do anything. And I do feel like a role system between the characters, giving the characters more of a purpose rather than just being, I want to play this character because I like this character. You know, give them a reason to play these characters, you know. On top of this, the weapon system in Revelations 2's raid mode is incredible. It is kind of RNG, because obviously you have the chests in the levels that you unlock, and then they give you random things. It could be a mod for a weapon, it could be a weapon. And I really like the mod system in the game, you know, so you've got like bullets that can temporarily freeze enemies, or bullets that can set enemies on fire. Definitely keep that in the game. Maybe make it a little bit less dependent on RNG, or at least make the missions longer to give you more of a chance to get these things, or even scrap the chest system in the level and make it so that random enemies drop things. You know, enemies drop the mods, enemies drop the weapons at random, like a classic MMO, like a world drop thing. Let's just go for like a Destiny engram, you know, an enemy dies, it pops out on the floor, you go over to it, and it kind of gives you a random thing. And the rarity changes depending on the difficulty and stuff like that. Another thing that's in Revelations 2 that I really like, but is very limited in terms of unlocking these things and how many there are, is cosmetics. Add challenges in game, you know, use a certain character to do a certain thing to unlock an alternate skin for them. You know, for example, in this game, for Claire, you have Claire from Revelations 2, and then after doing a certain amount of things, you get the Claire from Resident Evil 2. She's in an old costume. There's other characters like that. Barry also has one of his original costume from Resident Evil. Give me an incentive to play this character to earn these old school costumes, you know? There's plenty of different variants of these characters now that you could pull from. Like, Chris has Resident Evil 1 Chris, Resident Evil 5 Chris, Resident Evil Village Chris. Jill has Resident Evil 1 Jill, Resident Evil 3 Jill, Resident Evil 5 Jill, if you would even want to do that. You know, like, there's plenty of options and plenty of incentive there to make me play these characters that I wouldn't really play, to unlock a cool design for them. The same goes for weapons. Obviously this is not as a big deal as the character skin, where they look like a different version of themselves from a past game, but you know, certain milestones for weapons. Think about Call of Duty, they do it perfectly. I don't really enjoy Call of Duty anymore, but the way that you unlock camos for certain weapons in those games is great, you know? Get a certain amount of kills, some amount of headshots, maybe in this it's kill a certain type of enemy a certain amount of times. Get kills from afar with certain things, you know, something like that. More of an incentive to use a certain weapon and play a certain way. Of course, this is all speculation, and if a raid mode returns, I don't think it'll end up being like this. I do believe they have an opportunity to add more depth to it, especially working with next-gen systems. But keep in mind, from what we know of the game so far, it will be a Switch exclusive for a certain amount of time. If you remember with the first Revelations game, it was a 3DS game for a year-ish before it came to PS4 or PS4, and PS3. I don't know. I don't remember how old that game is, but it was a Nintendo 3DS exclusive for a while, like a year-ish time, and then it came to everything else. So I guess they might be limited to the Switch's power. But even so, the Switch is quite impressive, so you'd be surprised on what they could pull off. But either way, this has been my speculation video for a potential improvement or new addition of the raid mode from Resident Evil Revelations. I know people love it how it is in 2 and love it how it is in 1, and I'm perfectly okay if it came back and it was just the same, because it is still a blast to play through. It's one of the best bonus modes in a Resident Evil game for sure. It really stands quite on par with Mercenaries for me. But, you know, there is an opportunity to obviously improve it and change it, and if that happens, then maybe some of these ideas could be in there, but if not, that's totally fine too. Let me know what you think of my ideas, let me know if it makes any sense, let me know if they're terrible, let me know if they're good. All opinions are welcome. You know, I answer every comment, every video, so I just like to hear people's opinions. But, yeah, thank you for watching, and again, if you're new, be sure to subscribe for more Resident Evil content every single day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video.